I just uploaded a video like 10 minutes ago, so I don't know if I'll keep that video up or not, because a lot of the news in that video is going to be so outdated, because we just got breaking news this second from David Ornstein. It's David Ornstein. If it comes from David Ornstein, if it comes from Fabrizio Romano, it's true, it's legit. This is official news, exclusive. Manchester United sack manager Erik ten Hag. The 54-year-old Dutchman was informed by Manchester United of the decision this morning. RUUD van Nistelrooy is asked to take charge on an interim basis, with the rest of the staff remaining in position for now. So first of all, that was confirmation from David Ornstein that Erik ten Hag has been sacked. We've now got further confirmation from the likes of Fabrizio Romano, and Manchester United have just tweeted a club statement to say that Erik ten Hag has left. So this is a surprise, but almost not a surprise, because we've been waiting for so long for that moment for them to sack ten Hag. And actually the news has been quite quiet this morning, other than they've had a look at this manager, they've had a look at that manager. And there was always a feeling that they'd just do it in international debate. But out of nowhere, they have sacked him today. Well, I say out of nowhere. It's really not a surprise, because we're 14th in the league. We've won 4 of our last 14 games. I think they had to sack him after that West Ham performance. Even though I don't think the West Ham performance itself was sackable. That was the ref. That was multitude of things. I think when you look at the fact that we've won 1 of our last 8 games, you have to sack the manager for that. Now, sacking Erik ten Hag, I don't think it's going to solve all our problems. I can understand people being happy that Erik ten Hag has finally been sacked, and I think a lot of people will feel this is the right decision. And ultimately, as someone that has backed ten Hag and been very positive about ten Hag, I do think that this is the right decision. If I'm going to be totally honest, I think we have to sack him when, as I said in my last video, we've won 1 of our last 8 games. We've won 4 of 14 games this season. He's had £616 million be spent. I think when you look at all of that, he had to be sacked, and it was the right decision by Ineos. I think him being sacked this morning, I actually wasn't expecting that news to come out, because I think we've been told so much by the media, he's going to be sacked, he's going to be sacked, he's going to be sacked, and he's not sacked. I think Ineos see that Chelsea's next. Ineos see 1 win in Europe in our last 11. And let's be honest, Ineos never wanted to keep ten Hag in the first place in summer. Ineos's plan in summer was to sack Erik ten Hag and bring Thomas Tuchel in. Something went wrong. Thomas Tuchel demanded something that Ineos didn't want to give him. So ultimately, we then saw, Thomas Tuchel reject Man United and ten Hag keep his job. The manager market isn't necessarily the best. Thomas Frank, XAVI, Amorim are the managers being linked to us, but it would cost a lot to bring Amorim and Thomas Frank in. But I did think this, and I said this in my video in the summer. I said, when RUUD van Nistelrooy was appointed and brought in, sorry, I just cut out there, but I said back in summer, when RUUD van Nistelrooy was brought in, I always felt that it was a contingency plan in case they had to sack ten Hag, because we know that Ineos probably didn't want to keep ten Hag originally in the summer. They overhauled everything. They overhauled not just like bringing in Barada and Ashworth and getting rid of Arnold and Murta, but there was so many staff that lost their job, got the replaced, from scouting to psychologists to medical. Ineos wanted this complete revamp of Manchester United. So I always felt that, they probably wanted to change the manager, but there wasn't a manager there that were like, wow. They wanted McKenna, he said no. They wanted Tuchel, he said no. I think the other options they probably weren't 100% sure about. They played it safe. They stuck with ten Hag. Apparently one of the reasons they stuck with ten Hag is because Ashworth and Barada weren't in, and they wanted those to make the decision. But ultimately, with 14th, it's not been good enough this season. Ten Hag's been quite lucky to get this far. I think he had to go. Okay, sorry, my Wi-Fi just went into an absolute meltdown, so I'm just really hoping the last minute of the video has come out all right. My Wi-Fi is clearly overexcited that ten Hag has been sacked. But ultimately, this is what was said. Official Man United statement. Erik ten Hag has left role as Manchester United first team manager. We're grateful to Erik and everything he's done during his time with us and wish him well in the future. RUUD van Nistelrooy will take charge of the team in an interim head coach basis, supported by the current coaching team, whilst the permanent head coach is recruited. So I don't know if RUUD van Nistelrooy is getting it to the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if RUUD van Nistelrooy is getting a trial of a couple of games. They're going to see how he does. If they don't think he's going to be able to do the job, they might get a permanent manager in. I think the permanent manager Ineos really want to replace ten Hag is probably not available until the summer. So I think they'll be looking at interims and potentially people that could come in. But I think, as I said earlier, I think RUUD van Nistelrooy was born for a reason. I think they knew RUUD van Nistelrooy was a manager. He did a good job at PSV, and I think they felt, because I don't think Ineos felt confident with ten Hag going into the season. I think Ineos felt they needed to back him. They have to back him. They have to hope that it works. I don't think they were fully confident in Ten Hag, but I think they always had RUUD van Nistelrooy there as a sort of just-in-case option. Now, ultimately, it's sad. It's sad when we sack a manager. I think people will cheer and celebrate that Ten Hag is gone, and ultimately, I think that is the right decision. But I also think you've got to remember that a new manager, I don't think is going to turn it around right away. I don't think our players are as good as we think they are. I do think Ten Hag could have done a much better job. I do think he's misprofiling players. I do think he's lost the plot. I think his post-match, interviews have lost the plot. I don't think a new manager is going to come in and get us playing miraculously good football, and I don't think we're all of a sudden going to be a top 4 team with a new manager in, but I do expect a new manager to come in and improve us and set us up a lot better than Ten Hag, and I think that's what everybody expects. But it is sad when we sack a manager, because I really wanted it to work with Erik Ten Hag, believe it or not. I really wanted it to work. I'm fed up with this club sacking managers going through cycles. He won the Carabao Cup, he won the FA Cup. We had good times with this manager. But ultimately, this last year has probably been the worst I've ever seen Manchester United. I think it felt worse than Moyes, especially because I feel that we had a good squad. I feel that, while I don't think we've got an amazing squad, it's not as good as Liverpool, City, Chelsea. I think Chelsea's got a better team than us, not as good as Arsenal. We're better than 14th. We're better than 14th. We've not had one good 90 minutes of football this season. We're not improving. He said 660 million. This is his 3rd season. If this is Ten Hag's 1st season, it's different. But it's his 3rd season. And I think when we were 14th in the 3rd season, you've won 4 of 14 games this season. You've won 1 of your last 11 games in Europe. When you realise that we are Manchester United and we are underperforming to a ridiculous level, he has to go. I said I'm sitting on the fence with Ten Hag out, and the reason I said I'm sitting on the fence is because I wanted Ineos to make that decision, and I trusted Ineos, and I said I think Ineos will pull the trigger soon, and Ineos have pulled the trigger. And I think it probably wasn't that West Ham game that made them pull the trigger. I think it was the Fenerbahce game wasn't good enough. I think it was the Tottenham game that really shifted the mood. I think it is the fact that we're 14th place, and teams like Everton are 2 points behind us. Teams like Leicester are 2 points behind us. So, yeah, I think it's always sad when a manager's sacked, but I do think it's the right decision. But I'm still wary. I think more of it was on Ten Hag, but I do think the players need to step up. I do think there's things that have got to improve. And I do think, when we sacked Ollie, before it was going to get so much better when Ragnick came in and it didn't. Now, the big difference is I do look at Ten Hag playing Rashford on the right and completely misprofiling him. I do look at the way that Ten Hag's setting up the team and not utilising Ugarte. And I think the way Ineos is, they brought Ugarte in, you're not giving him any minutes. You're asking Rashford to play as a right back. Amad Diallo, you're barely even playing. And I felt... I don't want to say this, but I felt with the amount of chances we're missing and Delot missing the open goal, I don't think they did it on purpose to get Ten Hag sacked. But I felt like the players don't believe him anymore. I felt the players had given up under the manager. We couldn't play 90 minutes of good football. I felt that Ten Hag wasn't going to turn it around. And I think if we'd have given him longer, it would have just been more of this, in the hope that he turns it around, because it's going to cost us a lot of money to sack him. And was he ever going to turn it around? It didn't feel that way. He had a lot of money spent. It was his 3rd season. I think he had to go. I was someone that was saying, I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to trust Ineos with this decision. I do think Ineos would make the right decision to sack Ten Hag. It's not nice to see him sacked. It's not nice to see how wrong this season has gone. But we can't be 14th place. We can't be winning 4 of 14 games. We can't be only 2 points above the likes of Leicester and Everton. With the squad we've had, with the money we spent, with the fact that he's in his 3rd season, to be one of the worst set-up teams out of possession, it's absolutely the right decision. And I think I don't particularly want XAVI, if I'm going to be honest. I'm happy with RUUD van Nistelrooy being short-term interim while we look for the right long-term option. I don't think XAVI's the right long-term option, but I think it will be interesting to see what we do in the long term. Guys, please do let me know your thoughts down below, and of course hit that like button, and of course subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching. Bye.